Right, so very good day to everybody. This is Internet Programming, and in this class we discuss about event handling, dynamic HTML, okay, with JavaScript. Then we have a short introduction towards JSON, okay, and its syntax, okay. So this is especially for you, my dear students and young researchers, and you can reach me at dr.christoananth@gmail.com. So before beginning the session, once again let me thank God for giving me this golden opportunity to deliver this useful session to share my knowledge among my fellow national, international participants, students and young researchers. So in this class we'll have introduction towards JavaScript events, then how you try to use single as well as double quotes. Then we discuss about HTML events, how you can embed with the JavaScript platform. Then about the common HTML events. Then we discuss about dynamic HTML, JavaScript. Then JavaScript and HTML events that we will be comparing. Then we have a JSON example, how you try to store the data and how you try to evaluate the JavaScript objects. Okay, and finally we are going to end this class with the JavaScript string values. Okay, so at regular intervals I'll be giving you some short videos to discuss the knowledge in our topics. So this is JavaScript event. Of course you know what's a HTML. Okay, so normally it's something what the user performs, what the user does quite often. Okay, so the HTML event can be a HTML web page which has actually finished loading, okay, what it should display, and a HTML input field which was changed very recently, and a HTML button. For example, if you click on the submit button, if you click on the username, password, so that corresponding action can be taken. So when events happen, you have to do something. Okay, something you do. For example, if you click on this one, it will go to another one page. If you click on home page, then it will go to the normal page. Okay, so that is how it goes. So JavaScript will be helping you to execute the code when events are maybe detected, and HTML will be allowing event handler attributes with the JavaScript code that has to be added to the HTML elements. So you can use single quotes as well as double quotes also. For example, element even some JavaScript, that is in single quote, and similarly that can be in double quote also. Okay, so element even equal to some JavaScript, that is in double quote. So maybe you can have a on click attribute. Okay, so with a button element, so maybe button on click equal to document.get element by id, that's a demo, dot inner HTML is equal to date, and the time is. Okay, so that is going to access the date and time of your system. Okay, so maybe if you can see doc type HTML body, button on click equal to document.get element by id demo, dot inner HTML equal to date. Okay, the time is, and you are going to have paragraph id demo, close the body, close the HTML. Then in the, if you run this one, then you will see a button, the time is. If you click on this one, then it will show, okay, November 21 2022, and this is the standard time that it will be displayed. Okay, so the JavaScript code changes the content of the element with the id demo. Okay, so that it will access it, and you can also have the code to change the content of the own element. For example, this dot inner HTML, so this you can have. Okay, so you will have this one h2 tag JavaScript HTML events. Okay, h2 is nothing but the second level heading. Okay, button on click this dot inner HTML equal to date, the time is. Okay, so maybe you will display this one h2 tag and the time is. So if you click on this one, it will display this in a button. Okay, in the previous case just display, but this one in a button. Okay, so the date as well as time and the standard time. Okay, and you can also have this one also HTML events. Okay, JavaScript HTML events, button on click, so that you can have the time and the date as well. So maybe you can see in the output JavaScript HTML events, the time is, and JavaScript HTML events, you will display the date and time within the button. Okay. So these are the common HTML events. So on change, so which means that the HTML element has been changed. On click, which means that the user clicks on the HTML element, and then on mouse over, so which means the user moves the mouse over a HTML element, and then on mouse out, which means the user moves the mouse away from the HTML element, and then on key down, which means the user pushes a keyboard key, and then on load, which means that the browser has finished loading the page. So you can also have event handlers in the JavaScript, which means that you are going to handle as well as to verify the user input. And similarly, you can perform user actions and browser actions also. Okay. So maybe you can do it whenever, every time the page loads, or maybe when the page is closed, or maybe when the user clicks on a button, or maybe the content has to be verified when the user is going to input the data. Okay. So there are several methods that can be used to let the JavaScript work with events. Okay, so maybe you can have HTML event attributes which can execute the HTML, I mean the JavaScript code directly, and maybe you can go for HTML event attributes can also call for the JavaScript functions, and you can also use your own event handler function to the HTML elements that you are using, and maybe you can prevent the event from being sent or maybe being handled. Okay, so these are the situations where you can use the event handlers. In the dynamic HTML JavaScript, we will be using document.write. Okay, so that we will be using the JavaScript alone. Okay, so you can display the dynamic content to a web page. Okay, so maybe you can use the JavaScript to display the current date as well. Okay, so maybe HTML body script type text slash JavaScript document.write. Okay, the date. So whatever you are putting in the document.write, so that will be displaying. Okay, close the script, close the body, and then close the HTML. So maybe it will display the date as well as the time. And then the JavaScript and the HTML DOM. So maybe you can go with JavaScript, okay, to change the inner content and maybe the attributes dynamically as well. So for this one, you will go with document.getElementById.innerHTML equal to new HTML. And maybe if you have to change the attribute, you will have document.getElementById.attribute equal to new value. Okay, so that is the way that you can change the attribute. Okay. And if you are new to HTML Mint, then definitely you can do much more actions. Okay, maybe you can start the JavaScript. Maybe when the user clicks on the HTML element, you can trigger. Okay, so in order to execute the code, you'll have on click equal to JavaScript, and you can also use CSS also with the JavaScript. Okay, so with the JavaScript, you can change the style of the HTML element, and in order to change them, you should type document.getElementById. Okay, dot style dot property equal to new style. So that is the new style that you will have. So next you will have JavaScript object notation. Okay, JSON. Okay, JavaScript object notation. So maybe it's a lightweight data interchange format, and generally you can write it in the JavaScript object notation as well. And of course you can send, you can transfer data between the computers as well. And it is language independent. You can use any language. Okay. So the syntax also I will be showing you. Okay, so the code also I will be showing you. For example, you will be having JavaScript object notation, name John, age 30, car null. Okay, so it is going to define an object with three properties: name, age, and then car. Okay, so every property has a value. For example, name means John, age means 30, car means null. Okay, so maybe if you pass this JSON string with a JavaScript program, then you can access the data. For example, let person name equal to object name, let person age equal to object dot age. Okay, and of course for creating JavaScript objects, of course you should use JavaScript object notation. And because of this, because the JavaScript program can easily convert the JavaScript object notation data into JavaScript objects. Okay, and the format is text only, which means that it can be easily transferred across the computers, and you can use it through any programming language. It is independent of the programming language, and it has a built-in function for converting the JSON strings into JavaScript objects. And you can also use json.parse. Okay, so that has a built-in function for converting the object into a JSON string. Okay, so you can also use json.stringify also. Okay, so that you can convert the pure text from the server and you can use it in the JavaScript object. Okay, so you can send this JavaScript object to a server in a pure text format, and you can work with JavaScript objects as well without any complicated parsing or maybe translations. And for storing also, since it is text format, you can easily store them. Okay, so you can store this JavaScript objects as a text format. And there are certain rules. Okay, so data should be in name or value pairs, data is separated by commas, and curly braces is going to hold the objects, and square bracket is going to hold the arrays. Okay, And JSON data will be having a name as well as a value, so which means that it's written as a name value pair, okay, or maybe key value pair, okay. So maybe it will have a field name in double quote followed by a colon. For example, name double quote colon John double quote, okay. So that is how you specify the key value or maybe name value pair. And similarly, you will be having the format which is identical to the JavaScript object. So name John, okay, so that the keys can be strings, can be numbers, or maybe identifier names, okay. So name John you can include within the curly brace, okay, but not as a square brace. Square brace only for the numbers or maybe like arrays. Okay. So the JSON values can be a string, number, object, array, and then boolean, okay, or maybe null as well, okay. So in the JavaScript values, it can be function, date, or maybe undefined, okay. So here the JSON, the string values must be written with the double quotes, okay. Name John, okay. So that is how it goes, or maybe curly braces. And this is JavaScript object like person is within the single line you can have, okay. Name John, comma, age 31, comma, city New York, okay. So you can access like document, doc type HTML body, h2 second level heading, access a JavaScript object. So that is how it displays. PID paragraph ID demo, okay. And script you will have const my object name John, age 30, city New York, okay. Document.getElement by ID demo inner HTML my object name, okay. So here you are getting only the name, okay. Close the script, close the body, and close the HTML. Since you are getting only the name, it will be displaying only John. For example, if you see my object dot age, if you display, then 30 will be displayed.